Republicans need to advocate a Medicare for all, but we need to advocate it on our terms. We've got to be Saul Alinsky. Take their words, the left, and use it to benefit us. All right. So healthcare is a steamroll, man. We're getting steamrolled left and right. I don't know if you saw the recent mayor election in Miami. White women, Democrat won. Crazy. Democrat hasn't won since 1998. Very, very few people have turned out to vote. And Republicans got to get their voters going 2026, or else it's going to be we're going to get smoked. So, I think they have 600,000 citizens in Miami, 450,000 registered voters, and only 60,000 actually voted. So it's a very tiny turnout. But that one mayor race can determine a lot of policy changes. Just a fact. So if Republicans don't get on this, and healthcare, my friends, is a big deal. A big deal. And just arguing, well, that deal is worse. At least they're making an argument. You might not like the idea of a public option, of Medicare for all, a single payer, which a lot of the Medicare for all people are just saying single payer, but they don't want to say it out loud. But anyway, Republicans need to do this. So what we do is we take the idea of single payer, of Medicare for all, and we turn it into a free market scenario. Now, what that means is you'd be fascist, which is Medicare is fascist, and that's okay. I'm all about it, man. Fascist. Anyway, so what you do is you say, hey, you have to, insurance company, you have to underwrite everybody. I have no qualm with that at all. That's why the expenses are going up, because everybody has insurance. Now, whether or not they have healthcare is a different story, but right now we're going to talk about insurance. So everybody's underwritten. No one gets denied. All right. And again, that's not true insurance. Let me move my thing up here. Hold on a second. Again, it's not true insurance. It hasn't been true insurance for years and years and years and years. So stop. So what happens is it's a public option is what it be. We're going to have a government option, all right, which Medicare is. But remember, Medicare doesn't cover everything. That's why you need private insurance, Medicare Advantage, Part C. You still got to pay a premium for Part B, and you have Medicare Medigap, Medicare supplements. You still have pharmaceuticals, Part D. So the Medicare isn't a pure single payer. We don't want a pure single payer. We have to have some skin in the game. So my man Jay O made a good point here, because what I like best right here, and big fan of Jay, is a GOP Obamacare fix. And what the Republicans want, they want direct subsidies, and it doesn't have to be by HSAs, but I like it. The core of the proposal mimics previous suggestions to bypass insurance companies outright and said government subsidies directly to individuals, 100%. But where Jay has an issue with this, and I don't agree with this at all, he says a timing mismatch. He says big upfront premiums and back-end costs. He says current systems subsidize insurance companies to lower the monthly premium. Well, not the insurance companies, but basically they subsidize lower monthly premiums to the insurance company. And he says if we do it our way, the free way, that wouldn't change. And I don't agree with that at all. I don't get why that wouldn't change. I mean, we're saying at the end of the day, we're going to give you money that you have to use for insurance. It's no different than the GI Bill. When you get out of the Army, you get the GI Bill. The GI Bill says we're going to give you money as long as you're enrolled in a plan, a school. All right? Same thing. We'll give you money as long as you're enrolled in an insurance plan. And we're going to make it so you cannot be denied based on pre-existing conditions. Makes sense to me, man. I don't know why Jay makes an issue that seems like it's going to be unattainable to pursue. I don't agree with that at all. And I love Jay. I'm just saying I completely disagree. Jay's argument is right here. He says the Doritos dilemma. If government sends thousands of dollars directly to individuals, how do they ensure spent on healthcare? Well, same way we spend thousands of dollars directly to separated from service military personnel and ensure spent on college. Now, when I got my GI Bill, $778 a month back in 1992, 3, and 4, did that money go to my checking account and then go directly to George Mason? No, I'm sure I spent it on beer and stuff. But because I still had that money coming in, I was able to pay George Mason my tuition through other means. So it didn't go, I can't say that dollar went from there to there, but it certainly a dollar went from here, my checking account, to there. Same thing here. In fact, my wife used to do H&R Block tax returns back a couple years ago. And these guys would come in thinking they'd get a big refund. And then we validated they did not have insurance. Well, not me, but she did. She was able to validate they did not have insurance, and they had to pay the Obamacare surcharge for not having insurance. And they got pissed. They said, "Oh man, I thought I was going to get $2,000 back." I said, "No, you didn't have you didn't have insurance. We're not going to. You got to pay," which unequivocally makes sense. And then the GOP got rid of that. And a lot of people, including me, said that's great, get rid of that. But now I realize that we needed to have this skin in the game. So Obama was right. We were wrong on that regard when it came to Obamacare. Essentially, what they call the individual mandate. If you don't have insurance, you will be regulated in terms of your ability to receive a tax refund. I completely agree with that now. Back then, of course, I didn't, but now I do. So the same thing happens here. If you do not have health insurance and you're getting a subsidy from the government, we are going to take it back in terms of your tax refund, earned income tax credit, child care credit, all that. Inherently makes sense. Easily able to do this. We were able to do it under the single payer, the individual mandate. We're able to do it for GI Bill. That's the way to do it. But you phrase that on Medicare for All, where you have your stake in the ground. You say, okay, Medicare for All, I'm all about having Medicare for All, where you get access to health insurance. And it doesn't have to be through your employer either. This is what makes the people power, the patient power so beneficial. You don't have to be tied to your crappy old job to get health insurance, because we're going to give you a subsidy in which you can buy your own insurance. By the way, it's politically good as well from a financial perspective in terms of the political bargaining, because watch this. I was stunned by this here. So I said, right here, the public option in the United States healthcare refers to a government-sponsored health insurance plan that compete directly with private insurance in the marketplace. I got no qualm with that at all, none whatsoever. In fact, what I've seen, I've had people retire in Mexico and people who live in Mexico and the Philippines and other places. They say they got their version of Medicare, a single payer. Then they got their version of private coverage that if you can afford it, it's more expensive, but you get a little bit of the red carpet. That's the way to go. So you got the public option, you got the private option. Absolutely is the way to go. And we couch that as Medicare for All. We're going to provide Medicare for All, but it's going to be under our way. Again, the Saul Alinsky, we got to use his recommendations to advance our objectives, because if we don't, we're going to keep going down this degenerate path of just the society just falling apart. And we can't have that. But you got to win. You got to win, like the stupid lady in Miami. She won with 35,000 votes, and she won. Now she gets to advance her politics. Well, we got to win. And how do you win? Is you appeal to the voters. Shocking. And many voters are concerned about health insurance. So check this out. On top of that, it's good politically too, because we go over here. The healthcare sector as a whole gave 2/3 of their money to Democrats and 1/3 to Republicans. All right, so remember, these are the healthcare sector as a whole who are already benefiting from the current system as it is. I asked about the lobbying groups. The American Hospital Association gave over $6 million to the Heels Up and only $1.5 to Trump. These groups spent heavily on lobbying in 2024, exceeding the American Hospital Association lobbied $29 million to influence policy. All right, so these guys are scumbags, dude. And we know the American Pediatric and all these guys, scumbag. I wonder if they say the American Pediatric. Is it AAUP? Is that what's called? Let's ask Grok here. How much, because I can't do it. How much did the American Pediatric Association give to Democrats, Dems, and Republicans? All right, let's see what it says, because these guys are bad people, man. Bad. That lobbying group is bad, not good people. They don't care about your kids. All right, so whatever the AA, American Academy of Pediatrics, gave $22,000 to 100% going to Democrats and nothing going to Republicans. Shocking. That's not really the group I was thinking about, but I can't remember. Hold on a second. Anyway, so here's why the Democrats are so strong, because Sal Alinsky's 12 Rules for Radicals says power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. And the enemy, the bad guys, think the Democrats are more sincere in regulation and mandating and basically kicking these people out, the American Hospital Association, whatnot, saying we're going to take away your livelihood. They're not afraid of the Republicans at all. Never go outside the expertise of your people, all right? And that's it results in confusion, fear, and retreat. And so basically what Saul Alinsky would say is, hey, man, we know what we're doing here, and we're going to stay here. So we don't go, we take the words of Medicare for All, but we stay in our zone, which is freedom. We're going to advocate of freedom, but we're going to steal their words to advocate our version of Medicare for All. But whenever possible, go outside the expertise of the enemy. So stay with what you know, but go outside the expertise of the enemy. The enemy doesn't know about HSAs. The enemy doesn't know about GI Bill for Medicare. That's what we should say. We should say the GI Bill for health insurance, GI Bill for Medicare for all. That's the way to do it right there, because everyone loves a GI Bill. Make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. Absolutely. Oh, so you want healthcare for all, do you? We're advocating a GI Bill for healthcare. You don't want people to get healthcare? Well, we do, but we want to do. Okay, well, sounds like you're against healthcare. Ridicule is the most potent weapon. Absolutely. That's why the meme stuff, for the Franklin meme and the Arthur meme, oh, so good. A good tactic is one your people enjoy. Have fun with this. Make your people laugh. That's what makes the right wing on the internet so great, because we're having fun laughing at these people, and the left is cringing. It's great. A tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. 100%. This whole tactic of lower taxes, just, dude, it's embarrassing now. It's embarrassing. Stop it. It's because very few people actually pay an income tax. They pay FICA, but they don't pay an income tax. Keep the pressure on. Never let up. This is where Republicans always make the mistake. We won. We said that in 94. We said that in 2000. We said that in 2016. We won. And then we're just like, and now we keep going here. The threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. 100%. 100%. If you push a negative hard enough, it'll ultimately become a positive. Yep. So that's what we've got. What's AAUP? I think that's American Association of University Professors. Yeah, that's what it was. That's not the same thing. Hey, the American Pediatrics, all these guys are just clowns. They lobby like crazy for more money so they can be more political. A GI Bill for healthcare. That's what the Republicans should advocate, dude. Oh, I just came up with that on the fly. That is fantastic. That's a winner. All right, God bless. Love to your thoughts. Smash that like button, because we are going to get steamed next year if we don't come up with something radical, because healthcare is a big priority. Rightly or wrongly, it's a big priority. We'll see you.